Have you ever noticed that the more information we have today in the world, the harder it is to know what's actually true? We have endless news, endless media, endless voices, it seems like, telling us what reality is supposed to be. And for a long time, I personally thought the goal was certainty. I thought that if you searched hard enough, if you read enough, if you thought deeply enough, that suddenly you would just arrive at the answer, the belief that explains everything. But over time, I noticed something. Certainty feels heavy. Because once you believe you found the truth, there's this pressure that comes with it. This pressure to defend it, this pressure to protect it, to explain it. And, if something challenges that belief, then you suddenly feel like you need to hold your ground. But uncertainty feels a lot different. It lets you breathe. Uncertainty lets you breathe. And instead of saying, this is the answer, uncertainty says something more like, there might be something to see here. And that can feel freeing. Life begins to feel less like a problem that you have to solve, and it suddenly becomes a feeling of, something that you're just able to witness. And lately I've started to experience life that way. Not as someone trying to solve the mystery of existence, but as someone who's just watching the mystery unfold by living my life. And sometimes that unfolding shows up in little ways, like coincidences, patterns, synchronicities that feel like nods from reality itself. No instructions and not some grand plan. Just moments that say, pay attention. And, when they happen, I don't feel the need to decode them anymore, I just notice them and I keep living. Almost like a conversation with reality itself. Life speaks, I listen, and then, I respond, by just living my own life. And maybe truth is a lot like water, actually. Water moves, it flows through landscapes, sometimes it's still like a lake, sometimes it crashes like ocean waves. But we never demand that water stay frozen in one place forever, right? We sit by it. We watch it. We watch how it flows, and maybe truth is the same way. Instead of trying to capture it with certainty, maybe we're supposed to watch how it flows, how understanding changes through time and through experience. And when you do that, peace happens. You realize you don't have to hold the answer to reality. You're just one mind interpreting a very vast, very, very vast universe. That doesn't make life smaller. In fact, that makes life more majestic, even awe-inspiring. And suddenly the mystery becomes open again. Maybe the freedom of uncertainty is that you're no longer trying to capture the river. You're sitting beside it, feeling more peaceful and curious about where the water's going. Thank you for listening. Comment below if you have any thoughts.